Good evening, it's Sunday night, and as will become our regular practice, I am speaking to you tonight just to go over a little bit of what we did last week, give you a preview of what's coming up, maybe reinforce a few points, introduce some new things that you can expect to be working with, and just some general conversation about the course as it goes along. So I really do appreciate that people take the time to give these videos a viewing. It's, I think, a fairly effective way of communicating, and it's been useful in the past, and unless somebody tells me to stop or they really get tired of listening to me, I'm just going to keep doing it. Okay. First, a couple of comments about this week and what you saw and what I asked you to look at and the discussion board. And first off, let's just start with the discussion board. That was one of the better discussion boards I've seen for an opening week at a 200 level in a long time. In fact, I'd like to congratulate and commend one of your classmates in particular, Tommy Stevens. No, I did not plant him in the class and pay him off to give all that advice about posting to a discussion board, but boy, is that spot on. That is the way to do it. I think the technical advice is great, but more important, there was a presentation about quality. This is a college level piece, and we need to be treating it in that way. So that requires thought, that requires organization, that requires preparation. It's not just throwing your thoughts out at the last minute. And I am going to go out on a limb and say that the majority of the work was better than I usually see in the beginning. But if you read Tommy's post, you're going to understand that you'll actually understand a little bit more when you see my grading. Yes, the quality of the writing, the quality of the construction, the order of the construction. Does it contribute to the conversation? Does it make me think? Does it help your classmates think? Does it add to the discussion rather than just being an old information post? That's what's important. This is, like I said, where we're going to do most of the learning in this class is going to happen by discussing concepts with one another. As for content of this week's discussion board, it's very interesting because for the first time I saw early on people starting to go beyond that standard opening thought. And usually what I've noticed in the first 3 times that we've offered this class, when we offer this opening question, we start hearing about product quality, physical quality. And here people began towards the middle say, hey, wait a minute, it goes beyond that. It's how we do things, how we think about things, how do we order our thoughts, how do we order our businesses, how do we order what we do in order to produce a quality product. And that really leads us into where I wanted to be this week. You'll notice there is a written presentation that I do this week, and I call it, it's very brief, but I call it Quality is a Mindset. And to me, quality is a mindset. It is an attitude. And my definition of an attitude is a habit of thought. If you approach things with quality in mind, then quality is the output that you will receive. If you're willing to settle for mediocrity, then you're really not going to receive a quality product. And I think you saw that in the beginning. You saw that in the early videos that we did last week, where we talked about the cost of poor quality. That was a very significant one, intended to be dramatic, to show you how little things could have prevented great disasters. And we can go way beyond that. I think I'm going to try to find a few more examples for you just to reinforce that video. But to me, that one was a very powerful thing. This week is going to be, I think, now a little bit more technical, because what we're going to do is, as you look at the readings and you look at the resources and you look at the videos, we're introducing the Baldrige Principles, okay? And the Baldrige Principles, the Malcolm Baldrige Principles, the principles on which we base the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. These were developed out of the work of Malcolm Baldrige back when he was Secretary of Commerce in the 80s. So it's important to note that Mac Baldrige did not write these principles. Mac Baldrige was the force, the inspiration, the driver behind the development of this whole set of ideas that have become to known under the collective word of just his last name, Baldrige. But I really think you need to get introduced, get a little bit, I don't want to say critical, quizzical about each one. All right? I'm going to come to that in a second. The other thing we're going to ask you to look at is something a little bit older that predated Baldrige. And these are 14 points written by and developed by a gentleman named W. Edwards Deming. And in the history of the quality movement, Deming is practically, he's a heroic figure, shall we say. To this day, the highest award you can get for industrial quality in Japan, a nation which really has become known for quality products, is the Deming Prize. And Deming was an American. It took a long time for Deming's principles to be embraced here, as you've seen in some of the history. And what you're going to do at the end of the week is start comparing and contrasting in a written document, it's your first written assignment, the Baldrige principle and the Deming points. What do you see for similarities? What do you see for differences? How could they be applied? Now, because this is your first written assignment, I'm just going to go into a little bit of a review of how that works, especially when we start talking about quality, right? Well, clearly it's got to be well written. I do want you to follow an academic format. I do want you to follow the APA guidelines. Am I going to be a strict interpreter of APA? No, I'm not going to sit there with my APA manual looking at it to make sure that you've put in the whether the final period is inside or outside the parentheses or something that's absolutely perfect. And if your margin is a half inch, your indentation is a that much off the half inch, you're going to get penalized. That's not the point. The point is to have you follow the form of scholarly writing, to be more formal, to be more organized, to do a quality job. And of course, to give proper attribution to people to where you got your ideas. Okay, so that's very important. So yes, the quality and the form of the writing is just as important as the expression of the ideas. And that's to help us not just in this course, but in the long run. I want to make sure that people understand that. The other thing I'm really asking people to do, and this is going to be a kind of a step up from what previous classes have done, but I think you can do it. When you read something this week, you'll notice it's not an awful lot of material. Does it prompt you to ask any questions? Does it prompt you to go look for new material? Does it prompt you to engage in some inquiry on your own? Because that is the level of scholarship you need to be doing. This is college level work. We're not doing a high school book report. So I encourage you, when you look at something, when you read something that's in the course materials, go find more material about it. Follow some links, follow some searches, do things. Go into the scholarly websites like EBSCOhost and Google Scholar even is very good. You're going to find much more interesting things and things that will give your arguments not only depth, but you'll probably find that you're going to find reinforcement for your ideas. You're not going to find negation of your ideas. So let's start bringing in other sources. Show that you are studying the matter, okay? Studying to me doesn't mean poring over documents and memorizing. Studying to me means digging deeper and understanding the issues. So this week, like I said, we're looking forward to going into Baldrige, getting ourselves introduced to Baldrige. We'll look at Deming as kind of a groundwork. You're going to compare and contrast the two. And I think you're going to see how this unit built on last week's unit. And in some of the discussions we saw in week 1, some of you have mentally already started to do that. And that's been great. So again, thank you everybody for your participation this week. That was a great opening discussion board. I'm sure this week will be just as lively and even more substantive. Thanks again for the soapbox about writing. Great. And don't forget to ask any questions that you have. Use the Ask the Instructor mailbox or get to me as directly, and we'll get to things as soon as we can. Great job first week, and I'm really looking forward to continuing. Okay? Thank you. Good night.